good. Yep. Welcome everyone to the Saturday Night Live pre-show. It is Saturday, May 8th, and we just got off a fairly unusual week. Fairly choppy and a bit of a roller coaster in the early half of the week. In the later half, the latter half, it did settle down a bit more, much more stable. So we were able to make some great plays. All of our day trades, looked very good. We entered some long QQQ calls with much heavier allocation, as we were needing to be a little bit more cautious with prior plays, as it's very a little bit kind of unpredictable in this market. So risk reward isn't there as much to that factor, but. This recovery, we've in the latter half, we benefited nicely. Did that heavy allocation, made a few flips, and took some profit there, as well as targeted a few other names as well. Market looks okay. It's beginning to kind of balance out a bit more with value kind of running pretty steadily, and growth kind of taking a bit of a toll. Especially small caps really getting the brunt of the sort of correction kind of thing. Outlook looks good in regards to mid caps and large caps. Recovering quite a bit over the short term, midterm, and then it kind of feeds into our overall thesis, where we would kind of just focus on a little bit more kind of value, and have a larger cash allocation as well. And a couple of things this week I'll cover as well on the SNL with crypto, so with Doge mainly. I believe it's a great short later today, when Elon appears on SNL. I think it's a good setup for a short. So if you do have that access to those means to short on your broker, whether you're in the US or elsewhere, I would recommend it. I will be doing it on my own end. So I think it's pretty good. It might be a little bit hard to manage, but especially because the crypto space does not close. It is trading nonstop. So but I think it's a good opportunity. So if you would like to take that, I would recommend it. I'll cover that a little bit more briefly later on. In regards to earnings, we have quite a few. So some of the more speculative plays, they do have earnings this week. So we start off with Workhorse, the Trade Desk, both big ones. Monday pre-market. Monday after hours, we have Space, so Virgin Galactic, Roblox, Novavax as well. That one's been running quite a bit. Affirm, all on Monday after hours. Tuesday pre-market, we have Palantir, Jumaya, and after hours on the same day, we have Fubo, Lemonade, Unity, Upstart, and Open Door, as well as QuantumScape and BigCommerce. So quite a few names on Tuesday. I think we should get quite a bit of movement on Tuesday. Fubo has made quite a bit of movement in the stock price recently, so that will be one to watch. I'll also be watching Jumaya. I do have a long-term play on Jumaya, and I think with the recent kind of boost from the usual short seller account, stating that Jumaya has a lot of potential from here, Citron. I think that Jumaya could get a lot of movements through earnings, or prior, or following earnings, depending on the numbers. So that will definitely be one to watch. Another one in the e-commerce space is Wix, which is Wednesday pre-market. So that's definitely a big one. Jack and the Boss, Tattooed Chef, both reporting Wednesday after hours. Thursday pre-market, Alibaba, Bilibili, Xpeng, Canada Goose, a couple of big ones. Canada Goose had really big earnings beat last quarter, so it will be interesting to watch. Walt Disney, Airbnb, all DoorDash, and Blink all reporting Thursday after hours. So quite a few earnings. Not too many, real large caps, but a lot of kind of mid caps and more speculative high PE growth stocks reporting. So it will be quite a bit of movement, I believe, and some opportunities that will be present. So I'll be watching, kind of price action and looking to see, kind of analyze based on prior reports as well and earnings expectations, what we could kind of make a play on throughout the week. So stay tuned for that throughout the week. But other than that, not too much to go over. I'll pass it on to DJ, who will go over his usual SPY analysis.
Yeah, pretty crazy week. In all honesty, we saw like a pretty much a roller coaster of a week in the first 2 to 3 days. SPY chart doesn't show it too much, but intraday, a lot of the trading were just filled with intraday highs and intraday lows, back and forth, 5 or 6 times throughout every day. It was very choppy action. We didn't really get anywhere significant, but on SPY we did make actually an all-time high on Friday. Um, Friday we managed to close an all-time high on SPY, even after the choppiness for the last couple of weeks. We went up and surged almost 9-10 points from Thursday's low on SPY, to come down and lose the daily EMA, middle Bollinger, found a low on Thursday, completely reversed to close above indicators, and then Friday gap up into a close above the daily upper Bollinger Band. Very notable strong move on SPY itself. Not too much on technicals, but pretty much the jobs report um, missed estimates significantly by like 75% miss, and a lot of people would be wondering why the stock market is all-time highs, or we're getting a big bounce back after such a horrible jobs report. Once again, the money. The money controlling the market right now is pretty much the liquidity that the Fed and the stimulus is provided by both the government and the Fed, and that money is essentially just injected into the markets and keeping all sort of stocks and companies up. And the fact that we're at 0% interest rates, gives companies have very easy access to liquidity and capital, and this is what's really propelling the stock prices and the stock market overall. So the Fed had stated multiple times for the last couple months, if not longer, that they will not pull liquidity, and they will continue to provide stimulus and back up the U.S. economy until the U.S. economy reaches their goals. And primarily, their goal would be full employment, and the U.S. economy going on a good track to full recovery, essentially. And the jobs report is a very important indicator of that. Constantly exceeding expectations or beating expectations would mean that the economy is closer and closer to full employment and recovery, and that means it's more likely for the Fed to, raise rates and pull the liquidity out much sooner than they originally stated. But because we had such a massive miss on the jobs report, it's actually temporarily subsides the fear that any liquidity is going to be pulled, because it pretty much shows that it appears that we're further away from a full recovery than it seems. So there's been more time for liquidity to stay. At least that's how it really appears to the general public, and I think funds and institutions as well. In reality, it's just a little bit of a delay, so it's kind of inevitable that the liquidity will be pulled, but it does provide a very short-term relief and sentiment bonus, which propelled the markets back to basically recover to all-time highs on SPY here. So there's not too much to go over on this chart. It's a very strong chart with higher lows being bought, dips being bought, and a very strong 2-day green move above the daily upper Bollinger. There is essentially no resistance on this daily chart. Support would be daily EMAs 418 level, and the low of Thursday, which would be around 413.60. Aside from that, it could continue to grind and grind up. As we've seen last time in this run, once SPY took the daily upper Bollinger, it continued to go on a streak of almost 6 consecutive green days in a row in a slow grind up. This is the first time it's above the daily upper as well, ever since early April when it first made that move. So if the fears actually subside a bit and we can actually continue this move up, would not be surprised to see SPY continue a similar move as we did in first week April. It's looking very strong. Daily targets. It's very likely that if we get a very large gap up move on Monday, then we might sell off from it. Something like a 1% gap up to around 426 or so on SPY. We might get one of those temporary sell the tops. If we open relatively flat and we continue up, that's healthy enough to very much continue the grind up. And ultimately, I'm gonna take a look at the weekly chart instead to see some targets. Another very strong week on SPY. Higher lows on a weekly, closed here. Not actually above the weekly upper Bollinger yet, so a lot of to move up. Personally, with how it's just been SPY much stronger than tech in a relative sense. So whenever the market pulls, tech is sort of dragging it down slightly more. And then when tech recovers, SPY pretty much recovers to an all-time high, while tech kind of just recovers back to where it was originally. That's been the trend for around the last couple of weeks. So if this time around again, if tech actually can hold its gains and continue uptrend, I would not be surprised to see SPY along the lines of a move to 430, 435 in sometime this week, and ultimately could go higher in the coming weeks or month. SPY monthly chart, pretty much after April, very strong month. Now we've, at least for now, found a higher low on the monthly chart for May at around 411. That's the low about a week and a half ago on the daily chart. And now we're retesting the monthly upper Bollinger Band. It's around 425. If we push this, we could see a very, very strong move here. Last time we broke out above the upper Bollinger Band, made another 3 or 4% move on the way up. So it's possible. The month of May is very strong, and we could see a move SPY 440s. Really, there's no weakness on SPY as far as I can see technically. Both daily, weekly, monthly, very bullish with just consistent higher lows and higher highs. The only one little caveat is we are overbought on the monthly, which is quite significant. But once we went back and look at historically, I mean, there was RSIs where SPY was even up to 80, almost 87 on the RSI back in the 2018 bull run. So RSI doesn't mean too much. We are overbought, but we can really continue overbought for a lot longer. So personally, I'm expecting a pullback sometime near Q3, if not a bit sooner. Stated that multiple times, both in the group, but expressed over Twitter as well. I do think we will get a market-wide pullback. Not a super aggressive one like March, but probably one that reverses the trend. But I do expect to see a blow-off top first, which I think should occur in about the next 2 to 6 weeks, I would say. QQQ, we can see daily chart here, much different from SPY. It's very clear that SPY was trading above daily uppers and all-time highs, whereas QQQ, we even broke down to the daily lower Bollinger Band, and now we're just recovered to sit flat on the daily EMA. Pretty much it's just been hit because growth stocks, speculative stocks have been hit a lot harder recently because they're the ones that ran up the most. So they have a lot more room to fall down. And a lot of the tax proposals and negative sentiment in the markets primarily hits the growth stocks much harder. So what we saw was a pullback on QQQ on the daily. We found a temporary low of 326. We double bottomed that low on Thursday and managed to hold it. That was enough for the bulls to buy the dip, and we continued and closed slightly above the lower Bollinger. And then we had that jobs report miss on Friday, which was bullish for tech. So it gapped up right on the daily EMA. We pretty much closed exactly where we opened, rejected the middle Bollinger, and also held the support here. So it's very tricky to say what happened here, but judging that SPY is at all-time highs, it's more of a likelihood that QQQ would start to recover, especially after putting in this double bottom on the daily. This would be the most important short-term support for tech and QQQ. 326 here on the daily. If we drop this, there should be further downside and a significant a pullback, probably more than a couple 2-3%. So I'll be watching for these levels to hold. I expect these levels to hold. If these levels drop, and I'm not too sure if tech would be able to return to all-time highs again in time. I'm actually expecting a gap up on Monday because sentiment-wise, it feels like it was very choppy week to week. Every day had a lot of action up and down. Both longs and shorts and short-term traders kind of just got trapped in both directions, and it was very shaky. It was really until Thursday, the last hour, a very strong close happened, followed into a Friday gap up, which just kind of surprised, I would say, almost everybody based on the report. And then we pretty much closed even on a close. I do believe there's basically going to be quite a significant move on Monday. I think there's a possible gap and a move above the daily middle Bollinger Band on QQQ, where we hit up about 1.5% to test the 340 levels. If we do not get that, and we reject the 337 level, the high of Friday, I do anticipate a bit of a pull back to the lower 330 levels. But I am more bullish and bearish, especially after a week of action like that, and a very strong 2 days to close it. I'd be more inclined to believe we're sort of getting a gap up move on Monday to continue that momentum. QQQ weekly. Higher lows, dip below weekly EMA, bounced off weekly Bollinger Band, which is why this is quite important as well. If we drop the 326 double bottom support, that will likely drop the weekly middle Bollinger as well, and it will take probably another multiple week kind of pullback and recovery, which will really delay the move. The fact that we bounced off and closed above the weekly EMA, it's good things. If we can put in a higher low above 326 and ideally above 331, we could see a move back to all-time highs very quickly on tech coming by. QQQ monthly chart, there's no worries here. It's still overbought, actually more overbought in our side than SPY, but monthlies are holding. The EMA is fine, and we are putting in higher lows each time, and it looks good to continue. So I'm gonna cover gold here, GLD, the Gold Trust. So a couple questions. So I'm just gonna cover a couple questions since they were kind of directed at me from the beginning. Harry 19 asks, are you planning to add more to the current GLD and SLV positions? So currently I'm about 5% or so in SLV, 2023 leaps, the $30 leaps. GLD I'm in about only around 1 or 1.5%, and after selling 40% of that position, probably just around 1%. I do favor SLV and silver a lot more than gold, for reasons because I like the lower price, the more potential for a higher move on volatility, as opposed to gold. Silver all-time highs were much higher than gold are, so it has a lot more room, which we'll kind of see on the charts. So I mean the play here is kind of simple. There's a lot of inflation fears going on, and gold has been bullish for the majority of 2020, and it hit an all-time high in 2020. Ever since it hit the all-time high, it's been consolidating and actually downtrending on the daily for the vast majority of the time. The only difference is just recently, both gold and silver actually turned around the daily trend, which is what prompted me to re-enter these leaps. As we can see, ever since early 2021, it's been downtrending with lower highs and lower lows continuously. The EMAs and Bollinger Band have been sloping downwards for the vast majority of the time. And then we saw a bit of consolidation and grind up. And now for the first time in a while, we are actually getting a move back up on a daily trend, which I think is very notable. And we've broken above the daily upper Bollinger Band a couple times now. So I am pretty bullish on these in the short term, and we'll look to continue to ride it. So what I mean by here is we have to move down, and then starting from this point, we pretty much started to gradually uptrend. We had this move up, we had a higher low, we have a higher high, have a higher low, another higher high. So we are standing this staircase back up pattern, which is bullish for gold and commodities. And we are well above the daily upper Bollinger, and we can see this volume spike on these days as well. So it is quite significant. Weekly chart, as we can see as well, weekly chart bullish the entire time, but we did consolidate quite a bit, and now we are starting to trend up. This is the first week that GLD has been above the weekly middle Bollinger line since essentially, I guess, momentarily on the first week of January. But besides that, it really hasn't been above this middle Bollinger Band for almost 6 or 8 months now. So I think this is a very pretty key signal to turn around. So I think the leaps were a very good play to hold on for further continuation. Monthly charts, Yeah, look very good. We put in a double bottom on a monthly for GLD, and now we overtook monthly middle Bollinger, overtook monthly EMAs, and now there's quite a bit of room up to retest the all-time highs. So it's looking good, consolidated. Metals consolidated for quite a while. Premiums got pretty cheap, and I think I might have caught the low of this next move up for the metals, which is good. Silver, very similar to gold, so I won't really chart it. It's very similar, just downwards into higher highs and higher lows, and we are breaking up above the upper Bollingers now. The thing with silver is this chart kind of got messed up where it hit the recent all-time high with this 4-day move. This was caused by Wall Street bets with the hashtag silver squeeze. So I don't really take this too much consideration into the chart. I would consider the real recent highs to be around the $26 range, whereas this was more of a short squeeze move on the commodities, which is very unlikely to occur again, to see this kind of 10% gap up move. And we did have some silver calls where we sold on this gap, and a 10% gap was almost a triple even for leaps. So it's very unlikely that will occur again, but we should start to trend up here. Silver weekly chart. That's what I mean. It looks stronger than gold, whereas gold, if we take a look at the weekly chart, we are trading above the weekly EMA and Bollinger, but nowhere close to the upper Bollinger band. Whereas silver, we had a nice week above, and it's a lot tighter, but we are right below the weekly upper Bollinger band on silver. So there is a possible very strong move coming in the next 2-3 weeks on silver to potentially retake uh, previous highs for the last couple of years. And the thing is, like I mentioned, silver all-time high is in the 50s, nowhere close, whereas gold all-time highs were just last year. So there is a lot more room, in my opinion, here. Monthly chart, SLV, holding the monthly EMAs uptrending. Not much to talk about, but very similar to gold, quite strong. And then I took a couple risky plays. I think pretty risky plays, but pretty good risk reward. On Friday, some pretty high risk. I wouldn't call them lottos, but high risk trades. Going into Monday, one of them was Nvidia calls. So although Nvidia dropped multiple days, almost I think 8 days in a row, there was a very strong move on Nvidia. They had a lot of bullish news, a lot of price target upgrades. Most recent one being a $800 price target upgrade. They also do have earnings, which I believe should be on May 26th. So that's about 2 weeks away. There is a possible run up to earnings. Usually it kind of runs up around a week and a half to 2 weeks prior. I did notice that I do think that Nvidia was much stronger than a lot of other stocks, in which I'll show next, like Roku is an example. It was relatively stronger. The dips were getting bought on Nvidia here, and a Thursday dip was getting bought well, and it was a very strong gap up on Friday. So this chart looks almost identical to QQQ on the daily, where we had these dips being bought, and then it pretty much closed right where it kind of opened on Friday with an inside wick. It's just pretty much identical right on the daily EMA. And I'm expecting that if we can gap near or above this daily EMA, we might see a very strong move up to the 620 levels, pretty much, because if it squeezes back over daily EMA, we could see a move to 620. If we get a very strong 2-3 day continuation, we could see a retest of all-time highs, but just a 2 to 3% move. A 3% move would bring it back close to 615, and if we squeeze over daily EMAs could see a move to 620. The weekly calls were, in my opinion, pretty cheap. 615 calls, I believe, were around $2.50 when I alerted them. I think 630 calls were around 90 cents or so. If we see a move on NVIDIA to 620 on Monday, which would coincide with QQQ roughly 339 and break on the Monday gap, I mean, those 615 calls would be $5 in the money with, 4 days left. So it would probably be 3 to 4x. And I think the 630 calls would also be around 3 to 4 or 5x, which I thought was pretty good risk reward. Considering we're right on the daily EMA, either we're going to gap to test the daily middle Bollinger Band or kind of pull back and reject here. I think the downside is potentially around 30 to 40% during a gap down, where the upside is about 3 to 400% on the move up. So that's the kind of reason I just took it. I also mentioned earlier how I thought it's more likely to gap up than down. And then Rocha asked on Rocky puts, do you see downside coming this week? So this was hourly chart on Rocky. This is a daily chart on it. It got smashed very hard, dropped, I think, 30%, maybe 35% in the span of about 7 days. Very, very oversold. About 4 days under the lower Bollinger Band on ROCU, significantly underperforming the rest of tech and QQQ, because we can see on QQQ the charts were, it was bearish for the majority of the week, but we bounced back. But it was well above the well closer to the daily lower Bollinger Band, whereas ROCU pretty much just completely got blasted on the way down. And then they had a really good earnings report, so the shorts had to cover, and we bounced up almost, I think, 20 or 25% from the lows of Thursday on the earnings. It gapped up pretty strong at 321, even went over the daily EMA to the 337 levels, but then it gave it all back, closed lower than where it opened at on Friday, even with the massive move on QQQ, and closed above the daily EMA here. And the main thing is now there is a significant gap between this 300 level and 313 level. And the fact that it closed under daily EMA, if it cannot retake this daily EMA early next week, it should fade back to the 305 to 310 area. And I think just the 3-4% pullback 305 to 310 area would kind of, I think, very likely double those puts, if not maybe double and a half, something like that. The hourly chart, we could see it's very strong original open on Friday, but even with the hourly EMAs sloping up, price action couldn't continue. It ended up closing quite bearish at near the close. So if it can't hold, I believe 313.60 was the low of Friday. If it can't hold that, drops the hourly EMA, there is a big gap to fill on the hourly chart on this pullback, which is primarily why I took it. It's also a little bit of a hedge on the NVIDIA calls, since if QQQ is a large gap up, and the NVIDIA calls should do fairly well. And I think ROCU would actually likely gap up as well. Whereas if we get a flat or bearish open on Monday, the NVIDIA calls will take a hit, but I think ROCU would take a harder hit on the way down. Especially we've seen with just so many earnings, Amazon, Apple, Facebook, Google, where it was amazing beats, and all of them got sold back down after the original earnings beat. A lot of them are trading even lower than what the prices were before earnings. So we're just seeing a lot of profit taking on earnings and trending down. So that was the reason for the play. I do think it's more bearish relative to QQQ, at least at the moment. So it's sort of good to have both plays. I think there's a possibility that even both plays could work out. Say early early Monday, we get a move up to flip and sell the calls on the way up, and then we might actually see a pullback in the latter week where even the puts will actually do well. But anyways, that's all from my end on this week. Gonna pass it over to Ramji for him to cover his stuff.
Perfect. Yep. So yeah, DJ covered more of the indices pretty well. SPY, QQQ, kind of same thing. SPY notably reaching a new all-time high this week. So pretty great there. QQQ holding pretty major support on the daily over here around 327, mid 327 level. So holding that extremely well, which is why I entered those long calls. More of a longer play, but we did get that solid 30% gain intraday, overnight on these calls. And we did fill that gap that was previously there to 335. So that was great. I believe that we could continue to see upwards movement more in the longer term. Shorter term, we could consolidate a bit at these levels around 335, but that is not really too much of a worry. I believe we will reach new all-time highs shortly at that just above 340 level. So that looks great there. Net, we had a great play. DJ covered Roku. Net, Roku, and DDOG, all the largest gainers from that Thursday after hours earnings report opening into Friday. So we did cover that, and we made quite a bit of gains on our net calls. DDOG, we were able to recover any losses, so that was great. We did get extremely oversold on all the names: Peloton, Roku, Square, DDOG, and Net. And then Beyond Meat was the only one that really sold off on earnings. They were trading a little bit high, and numbers didn't really do too well. So that sold off quite a bit. Everything else was good. Most notably, the largest gainers were Roku, DDOG, and Net. We did have those Net calls and DDOG that ended up breaking even. Roku, though, the calls were fairly expensive, so the gain wasn't as much as our calls with Net. So that was a great play there. Not a lot of technical setups. Not too many good chart setups. GME is one though that's been kind of prolonged on the daily. It's really tweezing here, so I think we could get a fairly significant move. Nothing too crazy, but a fair amount of move. I would enter kind of long calls. So looking to kind of wait to see a bit of a move upwards, and then kind of enter from there. We got a bit of a fake out on Friday, so I would wait personally, and I am doing that myself, and I'll be alerting longer term call just to be a little bit more on the safe side, and kind of go from there while retaining all those gains. So that's great. Looking at the 10-year, it's pretty stable. Even with the jobs report. So just to explain that a little bit more as well, as some people were a little bit confused, I believe. Essentially, with Powell and the entire Fed stance behind fiscal and monetary policy, they're basically stating, once the economy is completely recovered, and once we're seeing that tangibly seeing that through statistics and all the numbers, so jobs, economy, etc., then what the Fed will be doing is essentially utilizing quote unquote their tools, but really they're essentially kind of backtracking on everything they've done since March, which is all the QE and maintaining inflation levels low, keeping rates low, and stopping kind of the stimulus in the market, and they'll be essentially stopping all of that, and kind of letting inflation run a bit. So that's the major fear and a bit of the worry in investors' perspective and their standpoint, as that will significantly hinder growth, high P, and essentially the market as a whole, right? So seeing that the jobs numbers were very disappointing, to say the least, compared to estimates. This is actually it's a little bit counterintuitive, in respect to the overall economy as an American, but essentially, that bad news towards the economy is good for the equity markets. It's good for risk assets. So because of that, that's why we saw that extremely positive reaction, because like DJ said, that kind of shift from the Fed, and kind of letting everything quote unquote die a bit, is a little bit delayed. So the economy is not fully recovered. So once that occurs, that's when the Fed will be pulling liquidity and letting rates kind of run. But until then, we are kind of in the safe zone. So with that bad jobs report, we could expect this to kind of occur for another 3 months, etc. It's hard to kind of put a date on it, but that's essentially the basis of why there was such a positive reaction on such a negative jobs growth numbers. So that is that. So essentially, in to kind of summarize it, essentially in regards to the economy, bad news is really good news. And like I said, it is counterintuitive, but right now we have, this is the reason, with kind of the mess on the Fed, record debt levels, low rates, and kind of unlimited QE that we haven't seen before. That's completely unsustainable in regards to the equity markets. And then also you have bonds being bought at a exorbitant level, and then kind of direct stimulus to individuals as well. So yeah, I mean, that's where we've kind of developed this mess where we have an inverse from the market and the economy. So the economy is just kind of at a very bad level right now, whereas risk assets are the complete opposite, right? Which doesn't align, and that's where we're kind of in the mess where we are right now. A lot to blame with sort of the Fed and their strategies over there. So yeah, that's what's occurring there. So yeah, not too many setups. So I'll cover kind of crypto and go from there, and then kind of the earnings I'm watching, just to cover that a bit. Mainly, I'll be looking at Fubo. I'll be watching Lemonade as well, Open Door and Big Commerce, as well as Wix. So some of the online commerce, I think it will be pretty interesting. I think we could get a large move up and down because of this sector. So I'll be watching that, and then looking towards Canada Goose and Alibaba as well. So those are some of the big ones that I'll be watching personally. The other ones I don't think will make too significant of a move, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Space is another one. Monday after hours. So watching those ones. Oh, and sorry, Jumaya as well. Jumaya is one that because of the kind of a boost from Citron. I think volume really spikes, so I think we can get quite a bit of a move, either up or down. I'll be watching Monday and Tuesday to kind of see what we can do there. And then in regards to Bitcoin, we did pick up again around the $53,000 level. So we've been holding since. We are trading around 59,000. It just dipped a bit to 58.75. So looks good. Going into as well as commodities. Silver gold is getting quite a bit of the spike. Bitcoin should hypothetically follow suit, maintaining the kind of aspect as Bitcoin as a sort of digital gold kind of perspective. So that this is moving relatively well, and it's extremely stable. We've recovered from those low levels, so that is very good to see. Looking for a kind of a break of the prior all-time high and then continue upwards, but looks really good and is moving extremely stable, so sounds good. Also, going into Friday is usually a good day for crypto, and now we have this SNL, which I believe is making a bit of a strength on Bitcoin, so I think that has something to do with it. Continue holding though. Looks very good, so there's that. Also wanted to cover ADA because it did, spike to a new all-time high yesterday at 1.78, so $1.78. So this looks good. We did pick up low level at around 115, so we are up quite a bit. This is more, like I said, a longer term hold, very long term. So I'm not really flipping this, but just wanted to kind of mention it as it broke out from that prior all-time high recently. So did dip a bit since then. We're sitting at about 1.6. So looks good regardless. A great alternative crypto altcoin there. Doge is the big one. So Doge, we are sitting at just under 1.7 now. We did hit a high, I believe, 1.74, if I saw correctly. Yes, that's correct. So yeah, in my opinion, I think we've kind of peaked here, but I wouldn't be surprised to see one last leg up before SNL. But the overall play with this one is I think this is a great short. I think it's a great kind of perfect sell the news setup. People are extremely bullish on Doge because currently in the short term because of the SNL and because they're stating that it's a kind of nationally syndicated broadcast show, and it's extremely big once Elon mentioned Doge, which guaranteed he will. That's 100%. But I mean, I don't really see it too much because it's not that big of a thing, because I mean we have seen Doge get picked up over mainstream media just extremely largely throughout the past 2 3 weeks. So I mean it's been on CNBC, it's been everywhere, right, on news channels, all over the media. So SNL isn't really a large stage for Doge, in my opinion. So I think it's kind of a perfect setup for a Sell the News event. And a lot of people who just know nothing about crypto, who I've kind of looked around on social media, are just solely buying Doge. It's their first time buying Doge, and they're solely buying it for the SNL event. So these individuals have kind of no background of any markets, and they will kind of not really be prepared for a Sell the News event. And once the SNL once the SNL event passes, I mean, there's not really a catalyst for these individuals to hold it, right? So I really think this is a perfect kind of Sell the News event. How low can we go? Hard to say, but I mean, with the unprecedented buying here, I think that we could go fairly low. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to just drop 50% from these levels. So that will be around 70 over 2, which is 35 cents. But I mean maybe 40 cents we kind of hold the midpoint hard to say, but regardless, I think it's a great setup for a short. So I'm not sure if you guys can short it. I think only certain brokers. I know a couple of our US NTG members were speaking a bit about it. I know on in Canada, Binance does have that shorting of Doge. So personally, I'll be doing it on Binance later tonight. But just a small amount. They do have leverage on the short on Binance, so I'll just probably leverage the short and play it a little bit more safer, just as smaller gain, something that's kind of a good opportunity. But it's a little difficult to alert, but I'll try to alert it while I'm watching it, so you guys can kind of follow along. But I mean, I just think this has to be kind of the perfect sell the news event overall, given the justification for individuals buying this. And so I mean, overall, I think Doge is still okay. I think it can still go bullish, but it would need that sell the news first, before maybe the following few days, where Elon kind of pumps it a little bit more. But in the short term, definitely today, this is kind of a guaranteed short in my opinion. So I'll be doing that on my end. So yeah. But other than that, there's not too much to go over. So if you want, DJ, we can move on to questions.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I think you covered the first two. SK also asked thoughts on Nike TSM charts. Can you alert silver leaps on the next ad? Is it a good hedge for inflation? Yes, it is. Thoughts on PaySafe earnings, run up into earnings? Do you suggest to add warrants on Monday? Yeah, DJ, if you want to touch on that.
Sure. I think earnings should perform well, but as we kind of seen with skills, even though they had a really good earnings report, in my opinion, and raised guidance, it ended up selling it anyways. Um, I would I would actually be looking to sell more of these warrants as opposed to buying them on Monday. Um, I do have a large amount, and I did alert a sell earlier in the week for uh, for a small bit of the position. We'll probably take out around a quarter or so again on Monday, and if it you know runs up and does really well on earnings, then I mean I'm not complaining because we still will have more than 60% of our position overall. Uh, uh, the warrants I actually think have held up significantly well. I think when the stock was around 14.50, the warrants were around like 3.80 to $4. But now, even with the stock dropping to as low as I think 12.80 on Thursday, the warrants were still $4. And now the stock is around 13.40, 13.50-ish. The warrants are back to like $4.40. It's held significantly well. I think even up 10 or 15% in the last week or so. I'd be looking to trim. Is there's a possibility everybody is sort of buying the warrants as opposed to stock for earnings because it's just much better leverage. So once past the earnings, if they do sell off short term, I do think there might be a chance to grab warrants in the $3 range again. So I'd be looking to add in that scenario. So I would be looking to trim about a quarter more on Monday, and if we go up, then I'll just be holding the rest of my position long and kind of go from there. That's my thoughts on PaySafe. For SLV leaps, next ad, sure. I am looking for a poll to add though, because like I showed in the charts earlier, both GLD and also SLV right now are trading above the daily upper Bollinger Bands, so they're bullish but kind of overextended. Like this is when the IV is sort of spiking. Like the 2023 leaps already up, I believe, almost 20% or maybe even 25% since I alerted. So if we continue to get another green day move on Monday, I would be looking to actually start trimming my current SLV position, probably a quarter or maybe a third, depending how large it goes. If it does pull back, I'll be waiting for probably a day or two of consolidation, and then I would add back on the dips. I am selling GLD first and holding on to silver because like I mentioned, I do think SLV is the better play there. Nike and TSM. Not sure about Nike. I did look at TSM. It's okay. It's not the greatest chart at the moment. I think NVIDIA is the play to go for on the semiconductors, at least in the very short term. They've got earnings, they've got price target upgrades, good catalysts, relatively much stronger compared to both TSM and AMD on both Thursday and Friday. So I would continue with the strength for now. And then PM Metals asked thoughts on TDOC, current market conditions. Would you still suggest entering December 300 leaps or target a closer strike? Ramji, if you want to cover that one.
Yeah, TDOC is a great name. Very oversold at these levels. So I think it's a good chance for a large recovery. I think even those 300 leaps in the short term aren't bad, but I would suggest maybe a closer strike, just to be safer if you'd like. Just a bit more capital intensive, but still a solid play. And yeah, it should do fairly well. Just extremely oversold at these levels. Fundamentals are good. Positive outlook in the future. So yeah, TDOC is a great name. I'd enter leaps if you want to be safer. Just just a closer strike, and I think they can perform extremely well. SK asks, where can I buy ADA coin? I use Interactive Brokers and Webull. So Interactive Brokers doesn't have any crypto, so it wouldn't be on there. I'm not sure about Webull. I know Robinhood has crypto. I think you can purchase on Robinhood definitely. They have a bit of a wide array of crypto. Also, if you just go on, the main crypto brokerages, so solely brokerages just for crypto, like Coinbase, Kraken, Gemini, they'll all carry it. Binance as well, they'll all carry ADA, Cardano. Also, I searched it up. eToro does have it as well, so that's another US brokerage that you'll be able to, equities brokerage that you'll be able to purchase ADA. So yeah, quite a few options there. Jules asked at Ramji, can you cover XRP, please? Yeah, I can. I don't really like XRP. If you look at the white page, there's nothing really too special about XRP. So yeah, I mean it seemed to just kind of move a bit in respect to similar to just the crypto market as a whole. Quite a bit of a move. High of just under $2. Back to one. Yeah, so it's moving quite a bit, but I mean, kind of the same movement. Peaked at that Coinbase IPO date when we were kind of selling, April 14th, and then kind of sold off quite a bit, hit that low, and has since recovered a bit. So moving pretty similar to just kind of the crypto market as a whole, mainly in relation to Bitcoin. So I would expect it hypothetically, I guess, to move similar towards Bitcoin, given the correlation that appears to be evident here. It has moved quite a bit into April 14th, much more than Bitcoin. It seems to be kind of a bit of a leveraged play, I guess, you could say. But overall, in regards to fundamentals, I don't like XRP. I don't really see anything special with the altcoin. Kind of going into the white page on XRP. But I mean, given the kind of correlation that we see on XRP in relation to Bitcoin, I guess you could say that it would move fairly similar to Bitcoin movement as we've kind of seen throughout the past sort of month or two. So there is that. XRP does move on news quite a bit as well. So there is that, which is a little bit unpredictable. But based on the chart, there's kind of not much there. It's more I would kind of note the correlation that it's moving towards in relation to Bitcoin. So there's that. But overall, yeah, I mean. There is they do have that court segment that they are expected to win. So there is that, which I mentioned. They kind of move on news a bit. So it could make a move on that news and move up quite a bit. Given that it's at that dollar level, there is quite a strong swing between the highs of $2 down to $1, 90 cents on the low, 91.5 cents on the low, April 23rd. So I mean, I would consider it a little bit of a leverage play, I guess. But that correlation is quite notable, though. Definitely in relation to Bitcoin. So yeah, but on a fundamental level, that's kind of how I look at more crypto. I think it's a better way to play it overall, while looking at charts for kind of the intraday flips in relation to sort of news and catalysts as well, which is what I've been doing with Bitcoin mainly. Kind of same thing with Doge a little bit, and ADA is more of a longer term play, solely on fundamentals. So yeah. But other than that, it looks like that's all the questions we have today. We've been running for an hour, so we'll wrap it up here. So yeah, overall, market looks okay. Kind of stabilizing and running towards our thesis. So that looks good. I mentioned the earnings that I'll be kind of watching for, as well as a few setups. Not too many setups that are great, but we're looking at more of a macro level. GME is a great setup. QQQ continuing to hold those long calls. Will likely flip early next week, a portion of them, but hold the majority for a longer term play, as I don't believe we will go lower than our entry price or kind of near it. So that looks good. Earnings to focus on, mainly Space, Jemaya, Lemonade, Fubo, Open Door, once again, Wix, Big Commerce, and Alibaba as well. So quite a few earnings that can kind of move the market quite a bit, and present some pretty solid opportunities. Later on today, we'll be watching SNL. Should be a very entertaining show this week, and should be very entertaining watching Doge as well, to see kind of how it moves. So pretty solid week ahead, guys. So looking forward to that. I hope everyone has an amazing weekend, and we'll be back on Monday to go get this money, guys. Have a great weekend, and take care, guys.
Yeah, take care, everyone.